Hello, everyone. You're listening to another episode of The Real Podcasters, the show where film, TV, and video games, and probably a host of other things, are all on the table for debate and more than likely ridicule, because that's just the kind of thing that we enjoy doing. We are somehow on episode 14, which I must stress up front, considering one thing that we're talking about this week, that was not planned at all. My name's Regan, as per usual I'm hosting, and I'm joined by the horror fanatic slash cultist that is Dan Quinn.
Good evening, everybody, here with episode 14. 14! Can you believe we have come so far, Regan?
And yet, also not very far.
I mean,
The irony.
well,
Hey look, we are still on 12 subscribers on YouTube, and I don't know how subscribers work on Spotify. I think there's one or two. I could be wrong. But frankly, it's more than I was expecting, so that's absolutely fine. How are we doing today, Dan?
good. I'm rather looking forward to today's episode because I actually have a feeling you've watched more than me, which is very unusual. The tables have turned. It's like our own version of a multiverse of madness.
Yeah.
Like in this multiverse, Dan has not watched as much as he usually watches.
Yeah, you watched like 16 things last week, didn't you?
So the question is, are you talking to the real Dan or are you talking to a multiverse Dan?
I'd rather listen to a different version of Dan, if I'm completely honest. Are you like the zombie one? Are you zombie Dan?
I mean, that dude just is a zombie. There's no question there.
Yeah, well,
Let's face it, he walks like he's some sort of gremlin.
I agree. As you can probably figure out, we're going to be talking about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We will go spoiler free for a bit and then do spoilers. That's later on. And there's also Moon Knight, because that's a thing that finished. We've definitely both got thoughts on that. And as ever,
Oh, yeah.
we're talking about the crap we've been watching. I haven't watched 16 things, I should stress, unless you count like episodes of things as singular things, from which case I might
Yeah,
have
I mean,
actually watched
I
more.
count episodes of things, so yeah, sure.
Okay,
Why
it
not?
might actually be 16 then. And then obviously we've got a little bit of news. I haven't put on as much, or at least I did initially, until things decided to reveal themselves literally in the last few hours. So thanks for that. Bloody BBC and their inability to.
Damn you.
But yes, I believe your beverage of choice tonight is a cup of tea, and I have a.
Oh, yeah.
What is it? A pilsner.
The great British tradition. Tea.
Bloody Britain, honestly. Well, let's just kick things right off with. Again, this is episode 14. I was not expecting the 14th Doctor to be announced. Literally, as I went on my break for work, and then
I know.
and then one.
It's sort of strange how it has been timed
Yeah.
with the 14th episode.
I mean, I'd heard that it was going to be in like a week or something that they were going to announce like May the 14th or the 15th, which I thought the 14th was probably ideal because, well, the number. But no, it's been officially confirmed by the BBC and Russell T Davies that Ncuti Gatwa has been officially announced as the next incarnation of the Doctor, Doctor number 14, obviously. Now, he's best known for work on Sex Education, which I think is on Netflix. I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
So I haven't got...
Actually, I think it's on Disney Plus.
Oh, is it?
I could be wrong.
I've got no idea.
I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, I'm sure I've seen something similar to it advertised on Disney Plus. I could be wrong. I haven't watched it, so
No, I was going to say, I haven't watched it. They're kind of going back to the whole... I think it's actually like the first time since Matt Smith where they've got someone who's a relative unknown, but I could be wrong, or maybe he is like incredibly popular, and I just didn't
I
watch the
did
show.
check his filmography, and he definitely hasn't like. He's been in some stuff, but it's nothing that I have personally seen. I think I maybe like saw a few films that I recognize the name, but I've never like actually sat down and watched them. You know.
Yeah, well, I think he is actually the second youngest as well, because Matt Smith was 26 when he was cast, and I think Peter Davison and Ncuti Gatwa was actually is 29. So second youngest. I wasn't expecting them to go near that number again. I figured it would be a little while longer. As I say, look, I haven't seen anything of it. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. I was curious if they were going to wait until like months down the line, or for once reveal who the next Doctor is just in the episode. Though I feel like that's going to be really difficult. But yeah, so we know that he's going to be appearing at the end of the 2022 centenary special thing that I'm contractually obligated to watch, even though I'm not. You know, I've already said what I think about this current era of Doctor Who. Though it does say he's going to be in a new series in 2023. So maybe all those rumours of it just being specials closer to the time might have been complete bollocks, as it turns out.
Yeah, it could be, but I guess there's no way to find out until we actually see something.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd
pop
seen
up on the old iPlayer.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd seen like a few rumours and stuff that they were going to be filming some Doctor Who stuff in the next month or so, which is entirely possible. But then I think the production company Bad Wolf, who's doing it, I think they're shooting something else currently as well. So it could be either. More than likely, they've been shooting some interior stuff until then, and then now that they're probably going to be doing it out in the open, they should probably get it out there before like the tabloids decide to run something. But you know, I'm a fan of Doctor Who. I'm certainly interested, and best of luck to him, frankly, because I mean, he hasn't got much to improve on, quite frankly. It just has to be competent.
Well, I mean, let's face it. You know, this is sort of a new. I think. Well, I haven't even like watched the Jodie Whittaker stuff, but I'm pretty sure you feel as if it could be potentially a new start.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Chris Chibnall had referenced something recently saying that he reckoned that Russell T Davies would probably ignore his stuff, and we're like, yeah, of course he will. He better. He should.
He should have done it a while
ago. But yes, that is the last minute news that we got. We will move on to the original first news story. Are you a fan of Wallace and Gromit?
Yes, I grew up with them.
Excellent.
I absolutely adore the. I can't remember what the episode is. Damn, Close Shave is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The one with the weird like robot dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've always loved that one. And the wrong trousers. I mean, have you ever seen such an evil-looking penguin in your entire life?
We were actually I think it was in Forbidden Planet a couple of weeks ago, and my girlfriend spotted a thermos bottle that was in the shape of the penguin in
No way.
trousers. It was like 30 quid, so we're like, no, we're not going
there. Damn, that's gonna go in my horror collection now, man. You've said it.
Yeah.
You said it now. I just need an evil-looking penguin.
Yeah, I actually watched more of Shaun the Sheep than I did Wallace and Gromit growing up, and I wasn't even that big on Shaun the Sheep. I think I just watched it because I was waiting for the next thing to come on. I thought it was alright.
Yeah.
That being said, I did watch the Shaun the Sheep movies. I think it was either last year or the year before. They're actually pretty damn good, to be honest, which I wasn't expecting. But
I haven't seen like any of the Shaun the Sheep films, and I kind of want to because I really liked the Curse of the Were-Rabbit, Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, the first Shaun the Sheep movie is actually kind of amazing. I actually really, really loved it. But Wallace and Gromit took me quite a while. It's the same with Futurama, really. And I think it's great. I think it's really good. So Netflix has said they're going to be releasing a Wallace and Gromit adventure in 2024, and have officially confirmed who's going to be voicing Wallace, because Peter Sallis was the original voice actor who retired in 2010 and then passed away in 2017. So they confirmed that it's Ben Whitehead, who is a name that does ring a bell to me, but he has actually voiced Wallace before. There was actually a bloody Telltale Games that do, like, I mean, I'm assuming it's the same one that does like the Walking Dead stuff, and I think the Back to the Future game did a Wallace and Gromit one, and I was like, really?
Oh.
That is dramatically dark. Like, I really hope it's about as dark as the Walking Dead one.
Damn.
Which I didn't play. I don't like the Walking Dead.
Good.
But you do, so it's fine. So, yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. There's also going to be VR, I think. Which, I'm like, can Netflix even do VR? Is that actually a thing? So I'm slightly less interested.
I mean, I wouldn't push it past them, considering that they'll just say, yes, we want this. We want it now.
I mean, you know,
we want our audience to indulge in claymation cheese.
What audience are losing people?
I mean,
well, I haven't heard anything else about the about the subscriber count, but yeah, I'm certainly interested. I'm still a fan of Wallace and Gromit. I'll still watch it occasionally. I think like we went through a phase of watching it's the ones that are on Amazon Prime. They're like the 3-minute episodes that I think are something to do with inventions and stuff.
It's like something inventions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I keep seeing it, and it looks pretty fun.
I think we binged like six or seven episodes in one go because it's like the same length as it's like an episode of Futurama or something.
It's fine.
Yeah. I think we watched that Rock and Robin like close to the Christmas. Is it Rock and Robin or Robin? Whichever one it is. It's the Aardman thing that's on Netflix with the. I think it's a Robin that thinks it's a mouse or something. It was alright. It's fine. I'm more interested in those sorts of things from like a technical perspective, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it should be quite fun, I think. Now we have a bit of an update on the Justin Lin fast exit. I'm calling it. They really named this incredibly well, didn't they? So last week we spoke very briefly because I usually don't care about the Fast and Furious films, but Justin Lin had left Fast X FX with just the classic creative differences. Like, again, I really need that on a t-shirt. I think it's such a funny line now.
Left because of creative differences.
But there has been an update on this as to why he might have left, and it's really telling. Yeah. So do you remember?
Indulge me.
Well, a couple of years ago, there was that feud that was going on between Vin Diesel and The Rock. I don't know if you heard about that one.
Ah, yes.
So, so The Rock, well, Dwayne Johnson wasn't a fan of the way that Vin Diesel has had such a hand in these films and his like producing style and all that sort of stuff, and he just said he just doesn't want to work with him anymore. I think either last year or the year before, I think Vin Diesel put a thing out on Instagram basically pleading for Dwayne Johnson to come back for Fast 10 and 11, and he's like, nah, bye. So
what was? I mean, I know we spoke about it last time, but isn't there like a Fast and Furious that's got like The Rock and somebody else? It's called like Hobbs and Shaw or something.
Yeah, so it had Jason Statham as well because he was the villain in the 7th one, I think. Tease at the end of the 6. Because I know these for some reason. I don't know why. I freaking rented Fast and Furious 9.
I just sort of like sprung to mind. That just sort of sprung to mind.
Yeah. But there are several sources citing that there was a bad working relationship between Justin Lin and Vin Diesel, who apparently is really difficult to work with. Showing up really late and out of shape, apparently. I'm like, how can Vin Diesel show up out of shape? Like, he's built like a cloud. Like, how are you?
He's built like a cloud.
Built like a cloud, and he...
What a descriptive... What a descriptive way to describe Vin Diesel.
I do actually have a quote. Okay. So on 23rd of April, Lin had a major disagreement with Diesel. The 4-person meeting had begun with Diesel having new notes. It ended with a slammed door. Justin finally had enough and said, "This movie is not worth my mental health." And I think I mentioned about... Did I mention about the video that Vin Diesel had posted with him in?
Maybe, but let's recap it.
Yeah,
just
sure.
in case.
Why not? Yeah. So there was a video that was released the day before Justin Lin officially announced that he was leaving, by Vin Diesel, which featured him and Justin Lin talking about Fast and Furious X, and Lin just looks extremely uncomfortable, and Diesel is just none the wiser.
Right. Oh dear.
It didn't look great, and even at the time I was like, you don't look very invested in this at all, and it's just a bloody portrait video. There has been a lot. I mean, if you research the stuff that goes on behind the scenes of these movies, is absolutely ridiculous. I already dislike watching these to begin with, but it's more fun just reading the behind the scenes stuff. Apparently, at one point, I think Vin Diesel was trying to use maths to determine how often a person can get punched and take a punch, and I'm just like, mate, what are you doing? Can you just resume?
So this Justin Lin, I take it he's the director.
Yeah.
Well, who needs family when...
Didn't be
Let me
making those
rephrase
jokes.
that. Who needs a director when you got family?
Oh, you know what it is. I mean, I think a director's been confirmed. I think it was Louis Leterrier. I only know him from directing the Incredible Hulk from 2008, which is everyone's favorite Marvel movie.
It's safe to say, though, that Hulk film has aged like a fine cheese.
Oh, you're doing a disservice to cheese now. Honestly.
Yeah, probably am, to be honest. That CGI, just the Hulk needs to be put out of his misery. God.
Yeah, I just thought it would be kind of interesting to briefly talk about that because I just think it's funny.
Do you know what? Like, I mean, I get like the whole feud thing, but for goodness sake, like, if you're in the middle of production, right? Like, surely the smart thing to do would just be set aside your differences, make the film, and then just do whatever you want, like, instead of all this drama. Because now, like, the film's just going to be terrible to begin with. Like, considering a director's just walked away because it's creative differences.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like...
No, it's...
it's red flags already.
So, I mean, like, they were still technically filming, like, second unit stuff in the days afterwards, which was costing Universal between $600,000 and $1 million a day. So I think...
Yeah.
So I think the production budget's going to be closer to 300. I'm like, you're putting $300 million into a Fast and Furious movie. Like, get the hell out. Like, really. As I say, I mean, I'll probably still watch it just because I'm morbidly curious. It's the same as a lot of other franchises that I think is rubbish currently. But we'll see. And we'll do the final bit of news because we're being very, very rapid with this. This isn't going to mean much until this episode goes out and when this actually gets put on the internet. When we went to go and see Doctor Strange 2, there was the first look at Avatar: The Way of Water. The previous one of which you haven't seen. And the previous one that I did, and I can barely remember any of it beyond, oh, look at those 3D CGI floaty island things and the giant blue people and the weird scorpion,
blue people,
rhinoceros, hammerhead shark thing. It probably has an actual name. I haven't got a clue. I mean, I'm not sure what your thoughts are on this trailer. I thought it looked visually pretty nice, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, considering what everyone says about, like, Avatar, even what you said, like, it's a very technical achievement of a film. Like, there's a lot of technical stuff involved, and I mean, somebody who's never seen it, it does look pretty interesting, I must admit.
Yeah, it's...
It started off looking pretty nice, so I am pretty curious to see it. Obviously, I'll have to watch Avatar. I will get around to doing it at some point, maybe this week. If not, probably the week after.
Potentially. Why the hell not? I mean, yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. It looks pretty stunning. Nothing about the story at all, which I'm not surprised at. As I say, I've forgotten most of the characters that are in the first film beyond whoever Sam Worthington played. I think his name is Jake or something. I've got no idea. Who is now a giant blue person, as you do. I think he's got a family or something. Oh, great. He has family. Oh, dear.
Family.
I mean, look, it's a long-awaited sequel for a lot of people. I know there's still plenty of people that really like to trash Avatar to no end, and I think it is just purely because they know that there's 4 sequels and they've got no interest, which is fine. I don't even think the first film is
it's fair enough.
I mean, it kind of ends on a bit of a tease for a sequel, but barely. As I say, I didn't assume there was going to be a sequel for years. But yeah, this trailer goes out, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. I think it's because it was attached to Doctor Strange, so I think it goes out on maybe the 14th or something, 30th or 14th.
Maybe. I suppose we'll know when we see all the major film sites just dropping it. I suppose, or oh yeah, new trailer.
Yeah.
I
just
IndieWire, Rotten Tomatoes, all that stuff.
Just watch us finish recording this and then it goes out and we look like morons again. The usual.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
three times in a row.
So compared to last week where we did 37 announcements for CinemaCon, it wasn't 37. It was 9 or 10.
But it felt like 37.
Oh yeah, it felt like it. That is it for the news. We are now going to swiftly move on. We're going to talk about what we've been watching, and we're going to kick things off with Dan, who maybe hasn't watched that much this week. That'd be quite funny.
Well, as you know, the little Doctor Who binge has commenced. So I finally finished Doctor Who Series 3.
Okay.
I had 3 episodes left. So that was Blink and then the 3-parter with the Master. It's got to be said, like, the Weeping Angels still terrify me, man.
Yeah, I agree.
It's such a creepy episode, like, ugh. I remember, like, seeing it as a kid, and you know that bit at the end when the angels find the TARDIS and it, like, the light starts flickering? It's, as a kid, it was like, oh my goodness, this is terrible.
The angels have the phone box. It's a classic line.
The angels have the phone box. Yeah. Then there was obviously the 2000 special Voyage of the Damned. Look, it's good, but I mean the hosts are not exactly the most intimidating of.
What are you talking about? I mean that. Though that being said, that is 2 episodes in 1 year where it's got weird angel monsters in. 1 stone, 1 gold.
Yeah.
Interesting.
1 stone, 1 gold.
The Stone Age and the Gold Age.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's still a good episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and the Max like thing. It kind of reminds me of Blofeld from the older era of Blofeld.
I actually forgot.
Honestly, like you'd have to like see the old version of Blofeld, like Donald Pleasance as Blofeld, and then look at Max from Voyage of the Damned, and there is like an uncanny resemblance.
My name is
but yeah,
Max.
it's fine. It's still my name is Max. Yeah, it's still a good episode. I still enjoyed it, and wow, it's very tragic. Still, it still pulls the old heartstring.
Anyway.
Yep.
Sorry, Kylie.
Anyway, now I've finally got round to finishing Bond. I have 3 Bond films left to watch, which is the Pierce era.
Pierce era. The Pira.
Yeah, the Pierce era. Pierce Bronson.
Pierce.
So I watched The Living Daylights 1987 with Timothy Dalton and A View to Kill. Oh no, I lie. A View to Kill's Roger Moore.
Mm-hmm. License to Kill.
Oof. This was not good.
Which one?
For some reason, right, I don't get A View to Kill at all because, like, you know how like the Bond villains have like a sort of like a henchman, like their right hand man, so to speak.
Yeah.
Grace Jones, the singer, is the like side villain in this. That's like, it's strange.
Isn't A View to a Kill kind of like a comedy for some people?
Yeah, and it's
not.
I found it a real slog to get through, man.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big slog. I drifted off. I won't even lie. I drifted off because it's a pretty numbing film. Then there was the Doctor Who and the Daleks 1964.
I beat you to it though.
Oh boy, what to say about this? I think we've both got a common issue with this, and I think we can both agree that this episode has some very serious pacing issues. I think it starts off fine, but then it starts meandering off, and I'm pretty sure there is like a part that is just dedicated to like going through the cave back to the Dalek City. It's like 20 minutes of my life that I just would rather see something else than a bunch of costumed mutants going through a cave. And, well, I think it's definitely a step down from An Unearthly Child for a number of reasons, the sets being one of them. Like, you tell us a Dalek City and all we really get is, like, corridors and
the classic
magnetic doors. We don't really get any, like, insight into a city. And the whole Dalek control room, I just didn't, like, feel like it was a control room. It just looked like you were in a room with a little, like, thing with a couple of buttons on. There was no, like... And oh boy, the best part of it... The scene where the Daleks decide to unleash they come up with a plan to basically just exterminate everybody.
Really? Oh,
by unleashing radiation in Skaro, again. And we see, the odd couple of Daleks that are real. and then there are like 7 or 8 cutouts.
Yeah, it's
Oh boy.
it is beautiful to behold.
I mean, like, I was like, oh my goodness, you know how the times have changed, and then the whole when the Daleks start getting infected with the little like, help me,
Yeah.
like the really unenthusiastic screaming was like,
Help.
oh god, this episode is nearly done, thank God.
Yeah, it's
Help me, losing control, help me.
so am I.
And then it would just like cut to something else, and you're like, this episode is nearly done, thank goodness. Yeah, it was different.
It was hard.
1964, folks. So, Moon Knight episode 6
Yeah, we'll
finally wrapped up.
yeah, we'll definitely talk about Moon Knight in a bit.
Well,
for
just
sure.
as a general sort of view, this was brilliant, and it is now my favourite Marvel miniseries, like, officially now. Totally and utter. I watched a couple of episodes from Series 4. I just watched episode 1 and 2, because I just needed, like, something quick to watch before I just went about my day. I mean, that first episode with Donna, and just when the Doctor is outside on the little window cleaning perch, and Donna is, like, in the door,
It's a
and they
beautiful
just start
moment.
communicating. It's so fun. It's so funny. Ooh, now then.
Now then.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Again, we're going to be talking about this, so I'm just going to, like, briefly just delve into it. I've looked forward to it, and my expectations were mostly met. It's very Sam Raimi, and for those who have seen Evil Dead and this, you can definitely see the sort of combo of the two.
The Sam Raimi isms.
But yeah, I really liked it for the most part, but as me and Regan have said, we're going to be discussing it later on in the episode. Now, I did watch the other Timothy Dalton Bond, which I think is a License to Kill.
It is, yes. I know this, and I haven't even seen it.
Yes. Yeah, it's mental how Roger Moore had, like, all these films, and that is still better than, like, all of the Roger Moore ones. Yeah, it was really fun, and I'm looking forward to the PS ones, even if the ratings sort of betray them a bit, because I can't remember a damn thing about the PS ones. I mean, I might not have even seen them, but, you know, I guess we will find out. Now, something very weird for me, I occasionally indulge in the odd DreamWorks animation picture.
Oh dear. Okay.
Over the Hedge.
I'm pretty certain. I think I've got it like listed on my letterbox as watched, but I don't think I gave it a rating because I cannot remember a thing about it, and I don't think I liked it.
It's basically, right, like, the plot of it is, I'll give you a brief reminder. So there's this little raccoon called RJ, and it's all to do with, like, hibernation. He basically steals a bunch of food from a bear, and he loses the food, so he's, like, indebted to the bear, and he befriends all these woodland critters to basically ransack a suburb and just steal the food, and obviously there are many obstacles in the way, and he kind of does a Vin Diesel. He decides whether it's his own ego or his family that matters. Yeah. Oh, it's such a fun film, man.
Is it though?
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a fun film.
I couldn't actually tell, considering the way you described it. You looked kind of sick of your life talking about it.
No, like, it's been years since I've rewatched it, because I watched it when I was a kid, and then I was like, oh my god, Over the Hedge is on Netflix, I'm gonna have to watch it. So yeah, I just watched that, and I thought, damn, this is a good film. But that is literally all I've watched, because I've been jam packed, because I've rediscovered a game that I absolutely love to play, which was this like zombie shooter called Left 4 Dead. I was obsessed with it for years, and it's still such a good game. So I've kind of been distracted by that. So the film life has sort of taken a bit of a hold for now.
That seems fair.
But I will be back. I will be back on it. So what are your many things you have watched?
Well, okay. So I think it was the day that I finished editing the last episode. I think it was getting to the evening, and I was like, I never actually finished What If. Like, ever. I think...
Oh, really?
Well, because I'd watched the first episode when it came out, the Peggy Carter one, and I thought it was meh. Like, everyone was loving it. I was meh.
Meh.
I got halfway through episode 2 and just gave up. And I feel bad for saying it, considering that it was, we're watching Chadwick Boseman's final ever performance, well, listening to it, I suppose. And the story just wasn't grabbing me, so I just gave up for basically a year. I'd seen a little bit here and there of what was going on. I knew that Ultron was going to be in the finale. And I think considering we were going into Doctor Strange in a couple of days, or at least for me in a couple of days, I thought, get on then, I'll watch the rest. So those first 2 episodes are still really lacking, and it takes until the final 3 episodes for me to actually care about what's going on. Mostly because I think if I hadn't known what was going on I think it is episode 3 when it's what if the Avengers never assembled. If I didn't know who was doing the whole thing, I would have found it better, and I thought it was quite good. Ultron though, I was very much in the minority at the time when I really didn't like Age of Ultron. I thought it was pretty rubbish. I still feel that way, and a lot of it is down to Ultron, because he's a pretty weak villain. He's just, he appears, he does some things.
He's hardly an intimidating villain compared to what he is in his comic state, but hey-ho.
Absolutely love this version of Ultron. So much better. So much cooler looking. It's a shame we didn't get James Spader back to do the voice. But I think it's really awesome. It's easily the best thing that's in What If. Even if by the end it's, it does the whole Guardians of the Multiverse. And I was like, some of you do not need to be there. You really don't. Like, you've got Thor, you've got the Black Panther version of Star-Lord, you've got Captain Carter. I've forgotten the rest, I'm not going to lie to you. I think, does Captain Marvel pop up in this one? She does actually pop up in a couple of episodes, and she is actually kind of entertaining.
She does pop up in a couple, but I'm trying to remember who the rest are, because I know there's Party Thor.
Oh yeah, and there's
Captain Carter.
I didn't actually mind that one, even if Natalie Portman once again has nothing to do. So fingers crossed in a couple of months. But yeah, I thought it gets better by the end. But quite frankly, I might as well have just watched the final 3 episodes or something, and that would have done enough for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on the first 2. That I like the Captain Carter one because it's always intrigued me. Like, what if it was Peggy Carter instead of Steve Rogers? That's always intrigued me. The second one, it was okay, but then the last ones, like the later episodes, just got better for me.
Yeah,
and I mean, the whole meme of when, the Ultron steals the entire universe and just gets the Infinity Stones, and he just cuts Thanos in half. Like,
I really like that.
Everyone was just like, he could have done this.
Yeah,
Vision, you could have done this.
Oh, exactly. But no, I mean, I think
it's like, hand over the stones, and he's just cut in half.
It's like, what sorts? But no, I thought it was pretty solid. I'm not fussed the fact that I had to wait a year to actually be bothered to watch it. But for the most part, it was pretty good. But it's not on Letterboxd, so I can't actually write a review of it, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's actually not on Letterboxd.
I think it's because it's gonna be a season 2. So I think if it's just a 1 season thing, they'll put it on there. But if it's not, then they'll bump it away. But yeah, that was the first thing I watched. Literally within 24 hours, I watched episode 3 to, was it 8 or 9 or something? Because they are pretty short, pretty brisk. Next up was continuing my watch through of Futurama. We've now gotten to the point where instead of an actual season, it's 4 films. So we watched Bender's Big Score. As I say, it's a rewatch. I've always really liked this one. I always thought it was a lot of fun. Even if I completely forgot as to why it's called Bender's Big Score until the final episode, when you realise why it is. Have you...
Yeah.
You have seen this one, haven't you? I'm assuming you have.
I haven't. I actually haven't watched, too much Futurama. I've seen, the odd, few episodes in a season, but I haven't, sort of sat down and properly watched it.
Well, this one opens with the crew going to, I think think it's the nudist planet. And there's a couple of also pink, nude, fleshy vulture aliens that rock up asking them to sign a petition. In reality, they're scammers, and long story short, they end up controlling most of the planet, which I thought was great. Yeah, you know, it's definitely a lot of fun. I also finished the Daleks because as soon as you said you were watching, I was like, right, I want to finish it before you because I'm not having you finish it before me. And my God, is it a slog? It's one of those things where like I actually.
You know what the worst thing is about that episode though, Regan? Like it's 7 parts long.
It does not need to be.
And it's not even like one of the longest Hartnell ones.
Well, no, because even the Dalek Invasion of Earth, I think, is 12 parts. So I'm looking forward to getting to that one.
I'm not surprised that one is long.
This one is okay. I understand like how important it is like culturally for bringing in the Daleks and stuff. You know, it's if this episode hadn't happened, I'd question as to where Doctor Who would be, seeing as you know they were so popular. Which is odd because they don't really have much to do in this one, and they're not particularly scary.
Do you know what the funny thing is with the Peter Cushing remake? Barbara is actually Susan's sister.
Yeah, they do a lot of things differently with that one. Which
yeah, they definitely tweak it, and I'm quite honestly sort of like torn between preferring it ever so slightly to this one because as I mentioned, like I definitely have some issues with it. Even if it is like a debut episode, I did expect some quality. Yeah, we'll say
pacing is definitely a major issue here. And you know, even after that, I mean, that's why I gave up. And yeah, I think it is 2 episodes. I think of Idiot Ian. He is an absolute moron in this. It's really, it's annoying because he has a lot more to do than like the other characters. But he's just an idiot. I'm sorry, he just is. And yes,
do you know what it feels like? Some of those parts, like the dialogue feels really like sort of stretched out.
Oh yeah,
like they just, especially Ian's, like it just feels like when he's talking, it's like, oh my God, will you just shut up?
Well, if you think, I can't remember which number episode it is, but it's the one when they're swinging over sort of like a big hole in the cave. In a more modern episode,
it's one of the
they
last
would have done
parts.
that in seconds. In reality, we watch it for like, what, 10, 11 minutes? I'm like, how like, for God's sake. And
then you've got like this stupid Thal character who's like gone all this way, and then he's like, yeah, I want to go back.
Yeah, to be honest, the Thals are
that was definitely... It's a slow one.
Yeah, I do.
Definitely.
I mean, I do obviously absolutely love the costumes for the Thals, specifically for the girls. They're very, very of their time. They might as well have been wearing a bikini.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? The little skirt things. You know, like the 6-pack packs of like beer or something. It just looks like someone like glued 6-packs onto their skirts.
You see, and they look like an empty six-pack thing of beer. Oh my God, I like that actually. I can see it now.
But I tell you what, it is like the costumes still look pretty good for a 1964 episode. I must admit.
Yeah, but yeah, it was fine. Actually, and
it was fine.
I mean, it ends on a cliffhanger, which I wasn't expecting. I haven't watched the next one. I thought I'm going to have to pace myself on this.
I know what the next one's called. It's called The Edge of Destruction, and you'll be pleased to know it's short. Relatively short. There's only 2 parts.
Oh, even better then. I might watch it tomorrow then. Next up was one that's been on my watch list for a while, Cujo.
You finally got around to watching
Now,
Cujo.
look, a little bit of personal info for me. When I was a kid, I had a massive fear of dogs. So this film was off the table entirely. I'd heard enough bad things for people who were terrified of dogs. It's like, I'm not watching this. No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'd go over that when I was like 7 or 8, but even then, there was still a part of us that was like, I'm a little bit uneasy. And even while watching this,
Doggy,
and watching Doggo trying to get into the car for like half an hour, Yeah, even I was a bit like, I'm not a fan. This is a little bit. I mean, the film's fine. I think it's okay. It's probably like, I mean, I think I've got like a list on Letterboxd of like the best Stephen King adaptations. I think it's somewhere in the middle. Because I think its strength is how realistic it is. Like especially.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, I
it's
think.
it's quite
Well, yeah.
realistic.
Because I mean,
I
I think
think it's pretty
they've got like
terrifying.
7 different dogs. One of them is apparently a mechanical one, so they've actually got a robot. But for the most part, you have no idea that it was different dogs. And you
Oh
fully
yeah,
buy into this thing running around attacking people. It's nuts. I also love the way that like the second half of the film is just stuck in a car, where it's not just the dog that's the issue, it's the heat, and the lack of food and
yeah,
stuff like that. I was like, that is pretty genius. I quite like that. Where the film falters is in the first half, and the fact that I don't give a shit about any human character at all. I mean,
yeah. That was sort of my thing as well. Like I didn't really care about him.
yeah. I mean, I'm fairly certain there's an instance where like I think someone's cheating on someone. I'm like, ooh, can we get back to the dog, please? Surprisingly,
Like good for you. Now can we get back to the doggy?
yeah, doggo. Um, yeah, I think it's one I'd started watching like about a year ago, and I just never finished it. Um, you know, I've seen it now. It's pretty good. I'd be interested to see if they have. I mean, I think they were gonna do a modern version, but I think
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain it was gonna be more like a comedy, and I was like, don't make Cujo a comedy.
No,
That's a bad idea.
it's not one thing you do.
No.
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Regan. Like, the first half let me down a bit, and then it just. I don't like when I go in a car and it's absolutely boiling. Like, it really makes me quite uneasy. It's like when you see this like young girl and this the mother, and like they're clearly suffering from the heat. It just made me like so like ugh.
Oh yeah.
You know, you've got a rabies infested dog outside, and now you're gonna like suffocate it from the heat. It was like ugh.
I also feel sorry for Cujo himself as well. Like, he is a sympathetic villain, I suppose.
Ah yes,
He,
sympathetic, trying to just bite.
yeah. He doesn't know any better. It's not his fault. That isn't the only horror film I've seen.
Ooh.
Ooh, this one. Right. I'm gonna say less on this one, but that is because there's not too many people that I know have seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, we both have a Shudder account, don't we?
Yes.
Have you heard of a film called Lake Mungo?
Yes.
Have you watched it?
I haven't watched it. It is in my list on Shudder.
I'm just gonna come out and say it. This is one of the scariest films I've ever seen in my life. I'm not even using sarcasm or anything. I'm literally the person. Okay, so here's the thing. So back in 2015, when I first watched Alien, I deliberately waited until it was night. I closed the curtains and I turned off the lights, and I just sat there, absolutely terrified. Like, genuinely. I mean, it's certainly not as scary as it used to be. I made the mistake of doing the exact same thing for this, and
Oh no.
I kid you. I mean, I kid you not. Like, throughout the entire film, I'll say a little bit in a second about what it actually is. But very rarely has my hand raised over my face as the film goes on until the final, like, properly scary moment, and I literally just had to cover my face with my hands. That is
Really?
like, honestly.
Damn.
Bear in mind, this is me we're talking about. I'm so desensitized to horror. Like, it takes a lot to freak me out.
When you mention horror around you, like ugh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'll say so it's a documentary following a family who's grieving the loss of their daughter Alice, who drowned in a dam, and when they're taken forwards of the house and stuff like that in videos, they start to see her ghost appear in it. So they end up getting the help of a psychic to try and figure out what's going on. Look, everything I'd heard about this film, constant praise, and until more recently was really difficult to find. Like, it has a Blu-ray release now from Second Sight Films. It's quite expensive, so I'm kind of holding off on it. Like, Like, I kid you not, it is in the 60s in terms of monies.
Right.
So I'll hold off until then. But it is, as I say, it's available on Shudder, and I wouldn't be able to see it any other way. And as I say, this is one of the rare films that's made me really uneasy. I'd love to say more, but again, because I don't feel like there's much there's much talk around this film, I don't want to spoil anything. I knew a little bit about what was going in, but if I didn't know, it would have absolutely freaked me out even more. So this is already, I think, the best film I've watched all year. Came out in 2008, so it's already the best film of 2008. So it's actually beaten The Dark Knight. Yay! But literally the final, like, proper scary image, and I've never been so tense in a film in a long time. And as I say, I've watched a lot of horror films. And you wonder what the best thing is? The guy who directed this is his only film. He has not made anything else. Not before.
So it's
or
just
after.
that.
Just that. So in a way, it's technically one of the best directorial debuts ever, because he hasn't done anything else.
He didn't do anything else. He just made this. He's like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. Absolutely terrific. Absolutely love it. I don't want to watch it for a while though. I'll give it a little while longer, maybe until maybe more people start talking about it. Not that my voice is going to make more people watch it. I mean, how are you? One more thing. Well, I suppose I did see Moon Knight. We'll talk about in a second, and Doctor Strange. Talk about that in a second. Just finished literally before we started recording. The second Futurama film, The Beast with a Billion Backs. So that one is that also leads into the previous one, where there's like a big anomaly that's in the sky, and there's a lot of tentacles that start coming out of it, and it's a giant tentacle planet creature called Yevo, which sounds honestly like
Yevo.
That honestly sounds like a search assistant, to be honest.
Yeah, it does a bit.
Who decides to attach a tentacle to every single human on the planet because he's in love with them. I think it's kind of beautiful, to be honest.
Mood.
Not like the tentacle porn stuff. It's, but you know, as ever, it's Futurama. It's got some properly good humor, and good heart as well, which I keep on forgetting that Futurama has a lot of that. But that's it. I've watched that. We will kick things off with Moon Knight. For the most part, we're just going to go into spoilers because unlike with Doctor Strange, it's pretty easy to watch this if you've got a Disney Plus account, which most of the population does now. We've obviously talked a little bit about our thoughts on this over the last few weeks, but I thought we'll wait until the final episode before we actually do
Wait until the entire thing's done before we delve into it.
Yeah. You've already said that you really love the show. I definitely think it's the strongest and most consistent show to date. It doesn't really concern itself with the larger mythos of the MCU. Just focusing on its own stuff here and there. Again, not going into spoilers yet. There are time codes in the description if you just want to check that out. So you'll see when we talk about spoilers for both this and Doctor Strange. Obviously, sucker for ancient Egypt. So this is...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is my show. It just is. It's mine. Oscar Isaac is absolutely terrific. Absolutely proven once again that his immense talents were absolutely wasted in Star Wars. Except episode 8. I think he's really good in that. But episode 9, he looks like he doesn't give a damn. Because I don't. So, it makes sense.
You couldn't really blame him, could we?
Yeah. I think we've both spoken about how each episode improves on the previous one. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Finale is not as good. I actually think it might be the weakest.
I'm in the opinion that 5 is still my favourite, even though I really did like the finale.
Yeah.
But I liked episode 5 better. I think that was my favourite.
Mm-hmm. I think the reason why I dislike the final one, I don't dislike it because I was still on board, but it just went back into the things that the rest of the other series have done prior. Now I didn't watch Loki because I really didn't like the first episode. I think you watched all of Loki, didn't you?
Yeah, I've watched every miniseries to date so far, and Loki was my favorite one, and then Moon Knight came along, and Moon Knight has just totally, hit it out the park.
Because I know that the finale for each series beyond Loki just did the whole thing of, oh, let's just do CGI, MCU, action sequences and things and stuff like that, when the rest of it hadn't really done that. But Loki, I think, didn't do that, as far as I know. I think it just ended with like a conversation or something.
It basically ends with like the whole twist of you meddle with time, there are consequences sort of thing. So I won't spoil it because you haven't seen it, but it's essentially something happens between Sylvie and Loki, and it just kicks off this whole new time incident, we'll say.
Well, I was gonna say, I am aware that the whole Marvel multiverse is created in that finale. But
yeah,
I as I say, I didn't bother watching 2 onwards because the first episode just really bored me. But I know people really like that one. But going back to Moon Knight, it still does that thing of, it's even got Ethan Hawke going all CGI and twirling his stick around like an absolute madman. All while some other things are going on in the background. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, it was definitely lacking. I will say this though, I actually really love Ethan Hawke in this entire show.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely amazing. I think as like a sort of villainous character, he really has it. Like I actually fell really, I was really intrigued by his plot. Like I kind of fell into are you actually going to be successful with this?
Mm-hmm.
He just felt a bit different compared to the other Marvel villains. Their plots are well, I'm gonna do this, okay. But this guy's okay, I'm gonna release the god of consuming souls. It's oh, okay.
Are you really though?
Okay, Ethan Hawke, I'll play a ball.
It's interesting when you get actors like Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac to an extent. They're only going to say yes to these things if there's actually something of merit, because neither of them are very interested in big studio stuff anyway. So to see Ethan Hawke in a Marvel property is actually pretty intriguing, and I love the voice, to be honest. He has a proper ragged voice, which I thought was really interesting. As I say, Oscar Isaac's done a phenomenal job. I do really hope we do get a season 2 of this. I mean, as far as I know, there hasn't actually been anything announced. But that could be quite interesting. And then before we go into spoilers, we'll talk briefly about the usage of Egyptian mythology. Now, as we've both said, we're both pretty big fans of Egyptian mythology too. A pretty major extent. If I still had my little scrapbook with a load of Egyptian stuff in, I would have gone with it.
Yeah.
But I adored so much of Egyptian stuff in this. I also didn't realise that Khonshu is an actual god in Egyptian mythology, which I just thought was funny.
Yep. He's the god of the moon.
Well, I figured, considering he's the god of the moon in this one, although I'm still trying to figure out as to why he's a weird bird creature. Surely he should be an owl. Surely. Although, would you have owls in Egypt? I don't know. I obviously haven't been to Egypt. I was going to be in Egypt a couple of years ago, and then the bloody, I think it was Thomas Cook I was going to be going with, and literally 2 weeks before, bloody Thomas Cook went bloody under. So oh, great, okay, never mind on that one. It was this close down, this close. Probably my favourite Egyptian god in the series, beyond Khonshu, who does get better as it goes along, was probably Taweret, the hippopotamus one.
Oh, yes.
Utterly hilarious.
Even that ending towards episode 5 where Mark
Hi.
and Stephen are just staring, and it's hi. I just wasn't expecting
Yeah,
it, and
I
I was
wasn't.
in fits.
Do you know what it is though? Is that I can tell the CGI has come so far because you actually legitimately believe that this thing is actually an actual being, because even with like the little ears that twitch every now and again in the same way that a hippo
Oh
would,
yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like,
It
that is
looks
such.
absolutely impeccable.
Oh yeah, easily my favorite. I thought it was awesome, and yeah, episode 5 is probably still my favorite. But now let's do spoilers. I think it's safe to say we need to do spoilers. Godzilla.
Dun 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 dun. Now do you see what I meant?
Yes.
So obviously the finale is just a giant Khonshu and a giant Ammit just fighting next to a pyramid, and it is just literally like a scene out of Godzilla versus Kong. It's literally.
Was there a reason as to why they were giants? I don't get. I don't know it, because wasn't she like sucking the souls out of people or something? Or something like that.
Yeah, she basically just drained the power from the soul, so when Ethan Hawke went a bit madman,
Yeah.
he was just like, yeah, Ammit, I'm just going to do you a favour here.
Yeah.
And then, giant crocodile, and Khonshu's like, yeah, I'm going to stop you. And you know what? I loved it. It was silly, but it was so good,
Yeah, to be honest, it was...
More for Khonshu, if anything, even though Ammit looks really cool as well. I think they just look really cool, but the Avatar things,
No.
I'd rather just see the gods, to be honest, in their true form.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that Amit was actually going to be in it in some regard. I honestly just assumed that she would have just iced Ethan Hawke immediately, just because I feel like that'd be the sort of thing that she'd do. But no.
No.
But hey, at least Layla gets to actually do something. In that, basically becomes one like a version of Wonder Woman. A little bit too familiar.
Yes, Wonder Woman 1984 specifically.
Going there. I mean, at least she actually has something to do, and she kicks a lot of ass. But yeah, the costume is very Golden Warrior armor from Wonder Woman 1984, which doesn't make any sense in the film, but it's fine. We're not talking about Wonder Woman 1984. Hey, we're talking about the other side of things. But yeah, I thought that it was still fun, even if I cared decidedly less as soon as Ethan Hawke started running down the pyramid and then started flying around. I'm just like, oh, Ethan, what are you doing?
I mean, the whole battle between Ethan and Moon Knight was pretty good, but I mean, yeah, I found it a bit like, Ethan, stop.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to sound like really
We
cynical.
have two gigantic gods fighting in the background. We don't need you flying around with Moon Knight.
Yeah, I'm trying not to sound too cynical, but it's points like this where I'm like, oh, I am actually a fan of the MCU. Oh, this is what I keep on forgetting the MCU does. But at the same time, however, I was more interested than the previous shows that have done the same thing. Like, I haven't watched WandaVision since seeing it, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I will probably watch this again, though, I think, but in the,
Oh,
pretty
easily.
far down
I
the
would
line.
easily go through and watch this again.
Obviously, I'd quite like a series 2, especially considering how it ends, with a third identity or something. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. I wasn't expecting that, or was I? I don't know.
Have you met my friend Jake?
Jake Lockley or something, I think his name is. I mean, I'm assuming he's in the comics. I haven't got a clue. I am curious as to what his version of the armor is going to look like, because we've got Assassin's Creed Moon Knight. We've got Mr. Moon Knight, Mr. Knight.
Mr. Moon Knight.
I really hope that this one also has a flat cap. I would quite like that. That could be pretty interesting. Just hits I don't know. I'm speculating now. But yeah, I think once again, I think you're on the higher end than me. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Again. I'm
Well, it's just because I think that it's just definitely the most consistent in terms of an MCU series. I mean, I like them all because I'm just a sucker for Marvel. Like, I happily prefer Marvel's filmography over DC's.
Marvel hack.
Well, the DCEU in particular.
The Q.
The Q.
Q.
Yeah, when DC finally gets their shit together, maybe I'll probably like it a bit more. But hey,
2027. Give it another 5 years.
But yeah, it's the whole like Egyptian mythology, like I've had an interest in it since I was a kid. Like I've always liked like the gods' mythology and things, and so like when you see Khonshu in like the first instance, it looks so cool. Like damn, I just thought, wow, this is like super duper cool. And you know what? For like an MCU series, it was pretty damn brutal at times.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really touch on it too much. It is definitely the more violent one, which
Like
I
when
don't mind.
Stephen has his blackouts and then he switches to Mark, and then there's just like a pile of bodies just around. It's like, did you do that, Mark? No. No.
No, I did not. Nah, mate, it wasn't me.
I tell you what, like Oscar Isaac's, like I think it must be really difficult to, like, there's definitely some scenes where the accent doesn't really work as well.
I think it is.
But that's because he's like switching back and forth, like between American and British, so fast.
Yeah, I think the British accent worked better when there wasn't an American one there as well, which I didn't realize it was going to be.
Yeah.
As soon as I started flicking between the two, it does sound like really hammy and like really over the top. But then I think it's also because it's flicking between two different voices from one actor, so it's going to be a bit weird. But yeah, as I say, overall, I do like it. I think it is the strongest of the MCU shows. I don't know when the next one is. I think it's Ms. Marvel. I think next month or something. Which you know, we'll see.
Yes, Miss Marvel. It is Miss Marvel. Straight off the bat, I don't really have an interest in Miss Marvel, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, we'll be watching the first episode, I think, and then reporting back, more than likely.
Reporting back to the real HQ.
Yeah, the real HQ. I like that one. But sticking with Marvel, we have a new Marvel film, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, once again, we're going to do spoiler-free for a few minutes, and then go right into spoilers, because it's a bit difficult to talk about this film without going into spoilers. It was the same as Spider-Man, which gratefully we started doing this podcast a month after Spider-Man, so it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it is going to be challenging considering the film has been out for like a few days.
Yeah, so obviously by the time this goes out, it's past the opening weekend, and as I say, there are time codes in the description, so you can see when we do talk about spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you can hear our spoiler-free thoughts, and then cut to the very end. It's absolutely fine.
Arguably the highlight of this podcast.
Yeah, the outro. As in the one that takes like 2 or 3 minutes to actually get into. So for those who don't know about the plot of this one, so we've got Doctor Strange going into the multiverse, because he's mad. I try. To protect a mysterious girl who can somehow travel through the multiverse herself as a brand new adversary emerges who wants that power for themselves. If you've seen any trailers, it does spoil quite a bit. I'm not going to lie to you. That really annoyed me.
Well,
but we will...
Things just got out of hand?
Yeah, they did. Now, I have a spoiler-free review on Letterboxd if you do want to read that. I don't believe you've written a review, have you, Dan? Because...
No, because I'm...
too busy.
With my reviewing, I'm very, like, specific. Like, I've got to get through, like, what I'm currently watching. So for this, it's going to be Hartnell's Doctor Who. So that is just my prime focus at the minute.
That's absolutely fine.
And then I'm going to be starting some Marvel ones and then probably going back to horror.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so general thoughts. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, when I saw the trailer for it, I was super excited for it. Because, you know, it was Sam Raimi helming it, and I love Sam Raimi's filmography. I mean, Evil Dead, easily one of my favourite horror franchises of all time. I absolutely love the first one. The second one is probably just as good. I mean, there are some terrific scenes in the second film. Specifically, the whole Ash cuts off his own hand, and the hand flips him off. Mm-hmm. That is just hilarious. I was dying. And Army of Darkness as well, where he basically just goes back in time to medieval and faces off evil. It's so fun. But there is definitely issues with it, but we'll discuss that in the spoilers, of course. But my general thoughts on it are, I've waited a long time to see it. I think I can't remember which Marvel film it was that actually had the trailer at the end.
Spider-Man.
Can't remember. Spider-Man. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So ever since seeing that trailer, I was like, I have to see this. I have to see it.
Yeah, it's a rule.
But yeah, I really like it. I love Elizabeth Olsen. She is absolutely terrific. Benedict, he's obviously great as well. Wong, all the characters, it's a classic MCU film, but with Sam Raimi, like, there is definitely some Evil Dead vibe into it, but I'll go into that in the spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's, generally speaking, I gave it like a 4 out of 5. It probably would have been a 5 if some of the issues weren't there. Again, spoilers, we'll get into that. But yeah, I liked it. I was thoroughly engaged with it, and considering its runtime, I felt it just flew over. It had my full attention.
I had watched the first one again in January because I hadn't seen it since taking myself to the cinema back in 2016, which, interesting enough, I wasn't interested in watching it, the first film, until I knew I was going to get the ticket reimbursed. I was like, okay, fine, I'll go and do it then. And the film is fine, to be honest. The first one is generally okay. It doesn't really take full advantage of the story that it's got, and it's got a pretty piss-poor villain, or at least until the end. I'll be honest, the Dormammu sequence is one of the best in the MCU. I think it's fantastic.
Oh yes, it's terrific.
And I do really like Scott Derrickson directing it, so it was a shame that he didn't come back for this one. I think he's still an executive producer on this, so he still has a bit of hand in this. But once again, left due to creative differences. Again, it's just a funny line now.
Seems to be like the top excuse for directors, doesn't it?
Excuse, I like that. And then obviously, I wasn't expecting a teaser trailer for this at the end of Spider-Man, which I guess makes sense given the story in Spider-Man. There is I'm certainly on the positive side of this. I think there's a few aspects of this that I think are better than the first, but I've got some serious bones to pick with this film. That, I'm not gonna lie, actually kind of pissed me off. But I wasn't expecting that. And also, I hate Twitter because it's spoiled a lot. But yeah, I think Benedict Cumberbatch is still pretty solid. Though I feel like this character is better in the supporting roles, which is sad to say. Elizabeth Olsen is the shining star of this film, which is ironic because one of the characters has a star on the back of a jacket, and has stars in the multiverse thing. I don't know, but Elizabeth Olsen is absolutely fantastic, and her character is just getting better in every single film. Obviously, we get Sam Raimi in, who's easily got the most personality of any MCU director thus far. You can absolutely tell it's a Sam Raimi film, for better or for worse. And fair in mind, I haven't watched the Evil Dead. I promise I will. So all my stuff with Sam Raimi,
you need to, because you have no idea how good they are.
Yeah, I mean, I know his stuff obviously from the Spider-Man trilogy that he did, which this harkens back to a little bit here and there, mostly in the camera moves and the push-ins and some of the hokey dialogue. But for the most part, I think it's definitely a Sam Raimi film. I think that's about it I can do about I'm not talking about spoilers. So yeah, we're just gonna go straight into spoilers now. Obviously, I mentioned,
let's travel across the podcast multiverse to the spoiler.
The spoilerverse.
The spoilerverse.
Now, like, again, I'm really annoyed that the trailers actually spoiled a lot. There was even a review that was done by the Times that spoiled a lot more than I was expecting. Like, literally, my girlfriend was reading as this because it was like a 2 out of 5. I was like, oof, I want to hear why. And then when it got to the bit when it was talking about the Book of Ashanti and the Book of the Damned and stuff, I was like, could you do me a favour? Could you stop talking? Because I didn't know that bit. That is a little bit too much for my liking. Even this,
I think even the whole like Sinister Strange thing was pretty damn spoiling. Like, it would have been better if they just didn't.
Well, it didn't even spoil it.
Like,
It doesn't
fair
do
enough
anything.
if they had it, but show it. I mean, he's hardly sinister because even that line, things just got out of hand, isn't actually in the film.
He isn't even sinister. He's just
just a hermit.
Yeah, Hermit Strange.
Hermit Strange.
But obviously, it was literally the first main trailer outside of the teaser one at the end of Spider-Man. That does actually confirm the actual villain is Wanda, which I'm not gonna lie, I was like, yeah, you could have kept that. You could have kept that to one side. I mean, I'm certainly not like saying it's a bad thing because I think she's absolutely terrific as the villain. I think it works incredibly well. Like I love her reason for going dark is just purely because she just wants to see her kid. That's it.
You see, what I love about Marvel is they inject a lot of like mental health issues into it. So for Wanda, for instance, the whole thing with WandaVision, that she goes into a depressive state, and it's clearly shown in Multiverse of Madness, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty tragic, and you can understand why she's a villainous character, and she does it so damn well.
Oh, yeah. But I think as well is the fact that I really didn't like how the way the WandaVision ended to try to paint her as a good character. Or, well, I mean, like a good character, but I mean like a character with good intentions. But she is absolutely teetering on the edge of being a villain because she enslaves an entire town. There's no way of, well, I mean, she's like, it's like, no, villain, how are you? And they do lean into it here. I also love the costume, to be honest. I think it's actually better than what we got in WandaVision, which is weird because I love that one as well.
I mean, it's got to be said, I'm in the same opinion. Like, the costume is a bit better than WandaVision, and I loved WandaVision. I'm going to rewatch it at some point, and it's probably going to be like my first mini-series review, because I'm probably just going to do it in order. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really love it, and I tell you what, like, the way, like, Elizabeth Olsen, like, pumps so much energy into the role of Wanda. And I mean, holy hell, like, she... Like, there are parts, obviously, we can spoil now.
Yeah, we can.
When we basically discover that America, or whatever... I think America Chavs, or whatever her name
America
is.
Chavs.
Obviously, Chavs, yeah, that's it. So basically, Wanda discovers where they are, and we are introduced to a cameo of characters. So, okay. We have Mr. Fantastic. But you know what's scary? I actually really liked him. And he's better than the bloody Fantastic Four films. I haven't even seen them.
Look.
But right. Yeah, we'll move on quickly. Captain Marvel. Then, of course, we get that weird dude who I can't remember, who's like Doctor Strange's adversary in like his multiverse. Yeah. Then we get Patrick Stewart as Professor X. And Captain Carter, who I was just so excited for.
I'm gonna... Look. Okay. Now. Twitter spoiled this.
See, this is why I don't have Twitter, because you get some right knobheads on it.
One of those things, I wasn't even searching for it. It just popped up as one.
Yeah, it would have been in like the popular bit, wouldn't it? Of like popular tweets or something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look, the whole John Krasinski as Reed Richards thing had been like, hinted at months ago, and I think even Emily Blunt responded to the idea of her being Sue Storm, which I thought that's a bit too on the nose for my liking.
Yeah.
And look, yeah, he's in it for 5 minutes, as is everyone else, as is Patrick Stewart as Professor X, the 90s animated show version, I think, because he's got the wheelchair and you hear the theme tune. He dies in 5 minutes.
You know what? As we said, like, it's definitely a Sam Raimi film, because there are definitely some... I wasn't expecting it, like, holy hell, Wanda just goes mental. She basically just is sick of everybody's shit at this point. Like, she just wants the girl.
Uh-huh. Do you know what I was saying is that I'm not entirely against bringing... Well, I am, actually, in a way. I didn't want them to bring back Patrick Stewart, because his ending in Logan was superb. Absolutely superb.
I agree.
Seeing Peggy Carter meant a bit more now that I've seen What If. Yep. Has nothing to do. The other dude, I think, is from the Inhumans, the Black Bolt or something, as in the one who cannot talk because his voice is too loud.
He has a killer whisper.
Yeah, although I actually kind of loved how he dies. That's so genius. Just like, remove his mouth
What
entirely, and then he just like whispers to himself, and then gone. Mr. Fantastic getting his stretchy limbs and stuff.
He just
twisted
gets
around.
You know, like when you shred paper in like a shredder. That just reminded me of that.
So Wanda Maximoff is also the Scarlet Witch and the Shredder. Excellent. I like that idea.
I kind of like the fact that like she uses like their own powers against them. It's so fun. I mean, Captain Carter, poor Captain Carter, man, cut in half with your own bloody shield.
damn. Just like going back to the Patrick Stewart thing, because that pissed me off in ways I wasn't expecting. Because as I say, it's like I didn't want him to come back because his ending is great. If you're gonna bring him back, do something with him. And they don't. He's dead within 5 minutes, and his neck is snapped. I'm like,
yeah.
You bet. And then I know.
Do you know what it is? Like they do it in a very horror film like style too. Like the whole like sequence of like going inside Wanda's mind, and then Wanda appears behind him and like snaps his neck. It's very like Insidious. Like you remember the first one, where the demon suddenly appears from behind. It kind of reminded me of that. So it was done very like horror film style.
Yeah, it's just it felt. I don't know what the word is, but it just felt wrong. It felt like an absolute.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire Illuminati thing just felt like an absolute.
It was just a bit of like a. Yeah, I mean, everybody because obviously we saw this on the day of release, when the Illuminati was mentioned, everyone just burst out laughing in the cinema. I'm not even joking here.
And I already knew that the Illuminati was a thing in this show, well, in this film anyway, because again, one random TV spot literally name drops them as the Illuminati, and then you see Captain Carter's bloody shield. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Because then by the end, there is no surprises. There's nothing. There's nothing else that happens in this film, unfortunately. We will talk about America Chavez. I like the performance quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, but this character exists purely as a plot device. She is literally the Clara Oswald of the MCU now. She exists purely because of the mystery around her.
Yeah, she is more of a plot device than a character.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair to say, because it's basically she can just open up a world to other multiverses, and Wanda just wants that power so she can have her children.
The do or do not exist depending on the universe.
Yep.
It's just I cared very little. I mean, the only thing you get about her is the fact that she sends her parents into the multiverse by accident as a kid. That's it. Also,
yeah,
I actually, despite being called the Multiverse of Madness, we get barely anything to do with the multiverse, really.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, like, again, this is sort of why I gave it like a 4 out of 5 instead of like a 5. If there was a lot more multiverse stuff, I probably would have loved it, but we don't really get like a glimpse of like other multiverses. Like, we're just drawn to one that has cameos in that are like in the film for like 5 minutes, if that.
I agree.
So we travel through other multiverses, and you know, we get like the Paint multiverse and all this stuff, but there's nothing like in depth about it. And considering its runtime, surely you could have squeezed a little more something in there. But I mean, that's more of a nitpick more than anything, because I liked What If and the whole like multiverse thing of different like scenarios and things. You know, I think it just would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I think I'd quite like to do a discussion next week on what the multiverse means, not just for the MCU, but also really anything else, because that's absolutely the thing that we're doing now. Like, I'm hoping to see I think it's out from next week. Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is also a multiverse related movie that is apparently one of the best films in recent years. So I'm like, okay, so I've got zero hype at all now. But I'm curious as to how that utilizes that multiverse kind of style thing, because I won't say too much until we talk about it next week, but I honestly feel like in a way it's actually going backwards rather than doing just like one universe and everything's connected. Now it's just whatever the hell we want. As in the thing that people were doing, you know, in the early 2000s anyway, so like...
Just watch this, right? David Gordon Green, Halloween Ends, finishes, right? Then, you know, the year after, a new Halloween film is announced, but it turns out Michael Myers is actually a xenomorph.
Careful, I wouldn't mind that. That'd be hilarious.
Can you just imagine him like the boiler suit and the mask, and then it's just like a little tail, it just comes up, and like the little like mouthpiece that just comes out of the William Shatner mask.
It's just...
Oh god, we better just not speak of this because we're gonna give some director some idea. We better just be quiet now.
Yeah, we should just. Anyway, I don't know if I've got much more to say on Doctor Strange. Have you missed anything? I mean, I guess there was the. Oh yeah, actually, there is the Bruce Campbell cameo. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping he would have been Mysterio. I really want that. I know he was going to be in Spider-Man 4, and I really want that, but no, instead he's a bloody hot dog vendor who punches himself for 3 weeks. I wouldn't mind doing that as
even
well.
that post-credit scene was so silly. Like,
it's done.
It's done, but you know how I think it would have been so hilarious, like when he stops and there's just one more final thing and it just ends. That would be so fun. Like it just stops for a minute and then he just punches himself again and then it finishes. I think that just would have been a bit more funny.
Yeah.
But again, personal taste. But yeah, it was so fun.
No, and then there was the first one with Charlize Theron as someone. I don't know who.
Yes.
I mean, I had to take like a couple of glances to be like, is that actually Charlize Theron? Is that actually her? Oh my god, it actually is her. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah. You know what's funny? The whole, I mean, obviously with What If, you know, the Marvel Zombies thing. Obviously, we get Zombie Strange.
I didn't like.
Again, it just screams Evil Dead. Mm-hmm. Like I know you're yet to watch it, and you really need to watch it.
I know, damn, I get to
have somebody to talk to about.
Oh, you poor thing. I haven't got anyone to talk about the Evil Dead with.
But yeah, it just screams Evil Dead. To be honest, I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, I was expecting a bit more like multiverse stuff as previously mentioned, but I think it's solid. It's a good start, and I think it's a good blend of horror and Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely got its brutal moments, and I mean, hell, it definitely has its brutal moments. Oh yeah,
definitely.
Oof. The moment where Hermit Strange is blasted out the window and impaled on his own fence. Huh?
Yeah, I was getting like very Ra's al Ghul vibes from bloody Arkham City when he does that.
Yeah.
When he technically gets stabbed twice. The poor thing.
I was just like, oh.
So that's how it's gonna go. Okay.
Yeah, I liked it for the most part, and Doctor Strange will return as it obviously announced in the ending.
Of course he will.
I guess we're gonna see what comes next.
Yeah. I mean, I know you give it a 4 out of 5. I'm gonna give it the same as I did for the first. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. It's, as I say, it's definitely got aspects of it that were stronger. I think it's got a little bit more personality. I think the action's better and the villain is certainly stronger. But it's the points when it decides, oh, well, we could do this. And it's both a setup for the future but also not. So it's weird.
Yeah.
And it completely wastes it. And it's...
having a plot device character as well as a bit of
yes. Having a Clara.
Having a Clara.
Well, it just is.
Is that just what we're going to refer to every time we discuss a film that has like a... Yeah.
Sorry, like...
So instead of, this character is a plot device, no, it's just a Clara.
Yeah, I'm really sorry for Jenna Coleman. She's a fantastic actress, but... well, you know, she's crap in the first series.
You're doing a Clara.
Doing a Clara. But yes, I thought the film was okay, overall. I might go and watch it again. I don't know. I might just wait until...
I was tempted to. I won't lie, because today I went and got myself a new bass amp thing, because I sold my big one, got a smaller one today. And coming back into Gateshead, it was taking a while. I was like, do I just get off and go see Doctor Strange again? And then I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be curious. I mean, I will probably get the Blu-ray, but I think it might just be the Blu-ray, or I might just wait for Disney Plus. That's usually my metric with the MCU now, as to whether or not I actually own it on the shelf. Which some of them I do, but only like a select few. But yes, that has been our thoughts on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and everything else that has been happening. Thank you very much for listening. As I say, next week, it's going to be quite awkward because we record this on a Sunday for it to go out on a Monday. But I'm going away on the Monday next week, so we're actually recording on the Saturday. So I've actually got time to get it out. Otherwise, it's going to be like a 3-week wait before we get another one. And I'm aware that Dan needs something to do for a few hours a week.
It's fine. I'll just hermit and just binge a bunch of films again.
So you're going to be...
It's fine.
So your version is going to be Hermit Dan.
Hermit Dan.
Hermit Dan, yeah. But yes, thank you very much for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you next week for some more multiversal shenanigans and rants and crap like that. Thanks.
The multiverse of the real podcasters, or the real podcasters of madness. Well, I mean, we're definitely mad. Let's face it.
The multicast of real pods. How about that? Yeah, that.
I mean, that just sounds like a bit of a mouthful, quite frankly.
Well, yeah, I was kind of stumbling over my words there. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yes, thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Goodbye, everyone.